Hello, everyone. How are you? Thank you for joining me today for day one of our 5-day career workshop. Now, if you can hear me loud and clear, go ahead and type into the chat that audio is coming through, that you can see me. Also, feel free to share, where are you coming to us from? So what part of the world are you joining us from today? So my name is Heather Austin. I am the creator and founder of ProfessorAustin.com, and I have a fabulous Facebook group, the Career Club. If you're not there yet, you might want to jump into that group. I help ambitious professionals find work they love. And this is the start of our 5-day career workshop here on YouTube. I'm so excited for you to be joining us. We have some fantastic content to cover today. So make sure you get out your notebook, your favorite notebook, and maybe your favorite pencil or your favorite pen, and take some notes today, because we are going to be covering job search strategies and tactics that really work. So feel free again to jump into the chat if you are just joining me. Let me know where you're joining me from. And I do have my team in the chat as well. So they are going to be there monitoring the chat and getting a hold of questions that you might have that we can answer throughout this workshop and toward the end of the workshop. So if you do have a question, make sure you jump in and go and put hashtag ask in your question so that I can see your question and answer it to help you get the information that you need. So today we are going to be covering job search skills and strategies that really work. So let me know in the chat if you are in the job search process. Let me know in the chat if you are in the job search process. I'm going to jump over and kind of see some of the comments we have already. It looks like a bunch of you are here. Hello, Kathy. So glad to have you. Maxim is here. Pamela. Hello, Pamela. Happy to have you here as well. And I'm sorry if I get some of these names wrong, if I don't say them right. Robert's here. Good morning from Big Bear Lake, California. Fantastic. So excited that you guys are here. Andrew, hello. Hey, I have something for you. A little surprise. This is the first of my mugs that I will be showing you during my presentation here. I have one coming up for you in a couple of days that you're going to love. So you'll have to jump back in and take a look at that as well. So, okay, we have some fantastic content for you guys today. I'm going to be switching screens just a little bit here and there. So I do want to, before we jump in and we get started, I want to remind you there are a couple of downloads that you can grab today. You can grab those right now. So I want to remind you to grab those if you haven't yet done that. Let me go ahead and open up the page for you to grab the downloads. So these downloads we are going to be using throughout this 5-day career workshop. So the first one is a template, a resume template for you to use. And then the second one is an interview guide cheat sheet. So that cheat sheet is actually something we're going to be using during day 3. So you want to make sure that you get the downloads so that you can use them as we're going throughout the 5 days that we are here. Also, if you sign up for your template and your cheat sheet, you'll also get on the VIP list for my new course that is going to be released on Friday. And you'll get on the VIP list to receive $100 off when the course is open for enrollment. It's not open yet, but it will be coming up here in a couple of days. Now, I have a question for you before we move on. Tell me in the chat, what do you struggle with the most when it comes to your job search? What do you struggle with the most? Now, I know for me, when I was job searching, it was probably time, because job searching, frankly, takes a lot of time, and it's definitely not easy work. A lot of times people will say, job searching is like a full-time job. So when you're really submersed in the process, it's almost like a full-time job, don't you think? So tell me in the chat, what is it that you struggle with the most when it comes to job searching? Okay, so when we are in the job search, we're wading through online applications. We submit our resume. We feel like maybe the resume, the cover letter, and our LinkedIn profiles are perfect. We submit it all to a position that we think is a great fit for us, but then sometimes we just don't hear back. So it feels like everything is in a big black hole, right? And tell me if this sounds familiar to you. And it feels like we've taken all the steps that we've needed to make sure that we secure a job interview, but sometimes it just doesn't always work that way. So let me see, anyone in here? Yeah, someone says most of the times recruiters don't get back to you, and I totally agree with that. And I think that a lot of times it's just patience in the process. So what we're going to talk about today, someone says time distraction and mental staggering. Yes, Maxim, that is so true. So what we're going to talk about today is how can we improve our job search skills so that we don't feel like our resume and our cover letter and our LinkedIn profile and our application fell into a big black hole, so that we actually get results with these with our job hunt. So what I'm going to talk about today, let me go ahead and move this forward, is how can we streamline the job hunt? How can we streamline the job hunt? So this is our very first tip. So I'm going to give you tip number 1, and we actually have 5 tips that we're going to share with you today. Again, my team is in the chat helping you with any questions you might have, and I'm going to leave some time at the end for you to ask questions. So make sure you do a hashtag ask and then pop your question in so that we can get to it quickly by after we're finished with our 5 job search tactics. So the first one is network with others in your industry. Step 1 is network with others in your industry. Now this is probably, I put this as step 1 because it is one of the most important parts of the job search. Now you've probably heard this saying before, but your net worth is your network. And the interesting thing is that this becomes even more true the further you go in your career. So the more senior level or the more experience you get or the more seasoned you are, this becomes even more true. Your net worth is your network. So you want to make sure you are networking as much as possible. Now I'm going to give you some solid strategies here today to help you really make sure that you get step 1, which is network with others in your industry, nailed down. So there's 2 types of networking. We have our in-person networking and our online networking. Now tell me in the chat, are you more of an in-person networker or do you like to network online? I know a lot of us kind of have our preferences. Sometimes it might seem easier to network online, but then we get faster results if we network in person. So are you a networker that likes to network online, or do you like to network in person? Let me know in the chat. And while you're doing that, let's talk a little bit about in-person networking. So when it comes to in-person networking, there's a couple things you want to keep your eye on. You want to keep your eye on events that are happening in your industry. And this could be events that are in your local communities, in bigger cities that you live by. This could even be an event that maybe you can buy a cheap plane ticket to get to. Now, I want to give you an example of this. If you're a graphic or a web designer or anyone in the design industry, there's an organization called AIGA. It's the Professional Association for Design. They conduct events all over the country. I'm in the United States. They conduct events all over the country. And it's such a great way for designers to network. So my recommendation for you would be to find events or any type of anything that's happening in your industry that you know you can go to and start networking with those people. Now, the other part to this is career fairs. So you can always go to career fairs in your industry and find out, who's hiring. Can I start getting business cards from people? Can I start collaborating with others that might even be there? And then another thing is reaching out to industry leaders or hiring officials for organizations in your local area and asking them to out for coffee. Just, hey, do you want to grab a cup of coffee one day, or whatever that might be. It's such a great way to network. So those are kind of the ways that you can network online. Now network in person. I'm going to jump in. Sorry, I'm distracted by the chat. I know I'll get better at using this, but let me just kind of see what you guys are saying here. Yes, Pamela says, understanding what employers are looking for and how to express on paper to be noticed. Pamela, we're actually going to be covering that on day 5. Patricia says, network online. So she likes to network online. We have another network online for sure. Oktay says both. Pamela says both. Awesome. Yeah. I love that you mentioned maximize by doing both. This is so key. So the second form of networking, so we covered in person. Now let's talk about online. So I want to give you some really solid strategies that you can use when you go to network online. And again, this is to improve your job search skills, okay? So really, when we think of networking online, what platform do we think of? LinkedIn, right? So there's really 4 ways that we can use LinkedIn in a very solid fashion to expedite our job search. So one of the first things I would always recommend doing is tap into your your personal network and your professional network. But those are people that you know already, maybe people you went to school with, maybe people that you've worked with in the past, maybe people you currently work with. So reaching out and connecting with those people. The second part to this online networking is to find positions that interest you. So let's say you do a job search and you find something that you think, hey, this is the perfect fit. I really want to apply for this job. Do a little bit of research and find out if you know someone that works for the company. Now that's why LinkedIn is so powerful, because you can do a lot of digging and find out if you know anyone that might work for the company. Or the other thing to look at is, do you know someone that knows someone? That's why those first, second, and third degree connections are really powerful on LinkedIn. Now we're going to cover more about LinkedIn tomorrow, so I'm not going to jump into all the connections now. We will cover a little bit more, but we'll cover more about that tomorrow. Let those people know. If you know someone that works for the company, let them know of your interest in the position. Ask them if they can put you in touch with a hiring official or a hiring manager, or if they can pass your resume along. Referrals are a really big deal right now. In fact, I think the last statistic says that 80% of companies hire based on referral. So that's why this networking part is so critical. Now, the third way to our online networking is if you find a company. So let's say you find a company that you want to work for. So let's say I want to work for Apple, or I want to work for Amazon. And I know these are larger companies, but let's just say I want to work for one of these companies. What I can do is do a little bit of research to see if I know someone that works for the company. I can also follow the company page so that I can learn what their latest news is. A lot of times companies will post their job postings right up front on LinkedIn, so you'll be notified right away, and finding out really what positions they are hiring for. And then also a little tip I always like to mention is don't be afraid to engage with the company in the newsfeed on LinkedIn. So what I mean by engaging is, let's say they make a post, give the post a thumbs up. In fact, LinkedIn is releasing a new feature where you can actually have emotions. You can give it a thumbs up. You can give it a curiosity. I can't remember all the other ones, and I'm sure that that's going to be rolling out soon. But there's a lot of different things you can do to engage with the company. Commenting on the post, of course, make sure it's professional when you do that, and really just sharing your thoughts. Now, the fourth thing when it comes to, this is the last part of our online networking, is to join groups. So let me know, are you a member of any groups, either on Facebook or on LinkedIn? Now, groups are a very, very, very powerful way to network. They are, at least for me, it's one of the ways that I've been able to make some career decisions of my own because of people that I've learned from or met inside of a group. So let me know in the chat, are you a member of any groups on either LinkedIn or on Facebook? Now, I want to share a story with you about a group. So I'm a member of a group on LinkedIn, And it was really interesting, just, participating, sharing thoughts, connecting with people. Someone popped into the group, and it was a girl, and she said, "Hey, I'm new to this industry. Would anyone be interested in, talking to me a little bit more about how I get started or some of the things you've done?" And from just her one comment, she had like 5 or 6 people jump in and say, "Hey, I would love to connect with you and talk to you about how I got started." And that's 5 or 6 new connections that she has, but possibly 5 or 6 people that can put her in touch with a job that she might enjoy. Now, I don't know if you've heard this saying before, but I believe it goes something like this, that by the time we're 21 or 22, we know 1,000 people. Okay, so if each person has 1,000 people behind them that they know, think of all those connections that you can make just by simply asking a question or saying, "Hey, can you help me? I'm just getting started." And most of the time, people are very, very willing to help out. Now, I do want to add one last thing before we get to our second step of our job search is you always want to customize your connection requests on LinkedIn. So I'm not even sure how many connection requests a day on LinkedIn, and so many of them, it's just, there's no message. They're not telling me why they want to connect. They're not telling me how they know me or if they saw me somewhere or whatever that might be. And in my opinion, I actually think that's not polite. I think if you're going to connect with someone on LinkedIn, give them a quick little message. Just say, "Hey, I recently discovered that you are this person. I admire your company's vision and mission. Are you okay if we connect?" And this gives you the opportunity to start a real relationship with that person. So don't just connect with anyone to connect. Make sure it's meaningful. And I know you guys have heard me say that before because it's just something that I truly, truly, truly believe in. Okay, let's move on, and I hope you have your notebooks and your pens and pencils ready. So step 2, again, write this down, is get your resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn profile ready. So step 2 is to get your resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn profile ready. Let me go ahead and I'm going to take a little drink of water. Awesome. Looks like Maxim says, yes, I'm in a Facebook group and a LinkedIn. Doesn't know how to use it. That's okay. It just takes a little bit of time. Andrew says, thanks, Andrew, for chiming in. Great point about engaging with the company in the LinkedIn feed. Yes, I totally agree. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what it means to get your resume, your cover letter, and your LinkedIn profile ready. Now, so many times I've worked with individuals that, and normally they're contacting me after they've done this. They rush to get their resume, their LinkedIn profile ready. They submit their application, and they notice that because they rushed, there was a spelling error, their email address wasn't right, whatever it might be. And then they're reaching out to me and saying, "I'm not getting interviews. I'm not getting the callbacks that I wanted." And so we start going through, well, let's start with the resume, and then let's look at your LinkedIn profile. And there's like a spelling error. There's something just super simple that we could fix, or really to jazz things up a little bit, that will make the biggest difference. So my recommendation, step 2, is get all this ready. Get your resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn profile ready before you even start applying for jobs. This eliminates some of the stress involved, and it makes it so that you're not making as many mistakes or errors in your resume. Now, we are going to talk more about the resume in detail on Friday. So if you are in the market for a new and improved resume, you definitely want to jump into Friday's workshop. Okay, third thing that we are going to look at is develop a 30-second pitch. So the third thing when it comes to improving your job search skills using strategies and tactics that really work is to develop a 30-second pitch. So I want to know in the chat, do you have a pitch already prepared? Have you already done one? And let me know, just was it grueling? Did you find it easy to do that? Do you feel like the 30-second pitch came natural to you? So let me know in the chat, do you have a 30-second pitch already available and ready to go? Now let me tell you, the 30-second pitch makes all the difference. And let me kind of tell you what it is in case you don't know. It's really like an elevator statement. So they use that analogy to say, hey, if you're stuck in the elevator with someone and they say, well, what do you do? Or who are you? Or whatever the question they might ask you, do you know how to respond? Like, can you tell them in 30 seconds before you get to that next floor who it is that you really are? Now, most of us probably don't have this ready because it's hard to think about unless you've taken the time and sat down to really write about it. But I'm going to just share a couple of examples with you. But before I do, the 30-second pitch, it will make all the difference in your job search because it gives you the confidence to talk about yourself. It's hard when we are going to an interview, and one of the questions, and you've probably had this before, is tell me about yourself. Well, that tell me about yourself question, it almost leaves you like, like, do you want to know my professional life? Do you want to know about my personal life? And we'll talk more about that question on day 3 of our workshop. But the 30-second pitch can really help you with that question. So the key is make it align with your resume, your cover letter, and your LinkedIn profile. You want it to tell your career story. So I'm going to give you some solid steps to tell your 30-second pitch or to create your 30-second pitch. So the first thing that you want to do when it comes to your 30-second pitch is you want to identify who you are and who you help. Okay, so who you are and who you help. Now, for me, let me just give you an example of mine. I might say something like, I'm a career and business strategy coach helping working professionals find a career that brings them true happiness and fulfillment. And I could say, hey, I'm Heather Austin. and I go ahead and I tell them what I am or who I am. Then the second part to this is you want to identify why you help them. So why are you passionate about what it is that you do? Why are you doing what you do? So you're clarifying that to the individual that you're speaking with. And here's one thing that I would say. One of my greatest passions is to provide career guidance to others so that they can land their dream job and spend more time doing the things they love. So that would be my why. So that would be step 2. Step 3 to your elevator pitch is to explain what makes you so unique. What makes you so unique? So out of all the other people that they might be talking to, why are you so interesting? Why are you so special? So I could say something like, hey, well, in addition to career strategy, I help my clients explore options for starting and growing their own business. And, I could go on from there. Now, the fourth step to this is you want to include a call to action. So if you're talking with someone, you want something to happen from the conversation, maybe an exchange of business cards. Maybe you ask the person, hey, can we connect on LinkedIn? Maybe, you want to have a follow-up meeting with them. It could be anything if you have your 30-second pitch ready to go. Now, my favorite way to include some type of call to action is to ask them a question. So my question might be like, hey, is entrepreneurship something you've ever considered? And that person would talk to me back. And this turns it into a two-sided conversation. So keep that in mind. It turns it into a two-sided conversation. Now, the fifth part to our elevator statement is to practice and revise. So I know it might sound awkward, but say it out loud to yourself. Say it out loud to yourself or say it out loud to a family member and a friend and get some feedback from them. Like they might say, hey, that part sounds a little bit strange. Or they might say, why don't you mention that you do this? Because it's such a big part of who you are. So again, that 30-second pitch is so critical to improving your job search skills and strategies. Now, before we move on to step 4, I want to remind you, if you haven't yet, jump on over to, and my team is going to share share this in the chat with you. Jump on over to worldclasscareer.academy, where you can download your free resume template and your interview guide cheat sheet. So these things are what we're going to be using over the next couple of days in this workshop. Also, you'll get on the wait list for my course so that I can send you a special link for $100 off when the course opens on Friday. Let me quickly show you what you'll get with that. Here is the interview guide cheat sheet. So once you download that, you'll be able to jump on over and scroll through that. We are going to use this on day 3, so make sure you have that ready to go. It's sample answers to common interview questions that you might be asked, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you can tailor those for your own interview. And then we also have a quick resume template. This is a great starting point for a lot of people who might not have access to a template. It gives you, just some basic sections on your resume that you can fill out. You have your professional summary, work experience. Now, there's a lot of other things we can add to this resume, but this is just to give you a general idea of what you can include on your resume and how to make it look somewhat decent, right? How to make it look somewhat decent. So make sure you jump on over to the link. Also, it's linked below this video, so you'll be able to see that as well. So let's look at step 4. We're getting close. We have 5 steps, and we're on step 4 of our improving our job search strategy. So step 4 is to request informational interviews. Now, let me know in the chat, have you ever done an informational interview? Just give me a yes or a no. Maybe you've done one before and maybe it worked out well, maybe it didn't work out so well. Have you ever done an informational interview? I want to tell you a quick story about when I did one, because it was actually probably a very pivotal moment for me when I was looking for a job. So years ago, when I have a daughter who's 8, I wasn't yet even pregnant with her at that time, so it must have been 10 years ago. I had my eyes set on this teaching position at a university in my area. It's a big university, and I thought, I would love to teach there. I would love it more than anything. And I thought, how can I get in the door? And I knew that I wasn't qualified. I knew I didn't have a resume that would get me through their applicant tracking system. I thought, okay, I'm gonna get in and I'm gonna ask one of the department chairs. So I approached the department I thought I could teach for, which was a computer science department. And I said, hey, can I come in and just meet with you for a couple minutes for an informational interview, just to kind of find out about you and your position and how you got to where you are? And he's like, sure, come in and meet with me. Well, we went in, we chatted for a couple minutes. It was probably maybe like 15, 20 minutes of us just chatting about the job. Well, by the time I left, he had hired me, and I was teaching in the classroom a month after that. And, he later said, he's like, Heather, I just want you to know, we have people from all over the world applying to teach with this school. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And he said, there's people that are from Harvard and Stanford and MIT that really want this job. And he said, but the reason why I hired you is because you showed me the initiative and that you're willing to do what it takes to get the job done, basically, because I went in and I showed him my interest, and I would never have made it past the applicant tracking system with my resume, but I knew that there was something else I needed to do. So step 4 is to land an informational interview. And when I say land, that means you are initiating that, okay? So let's see. Patricia's never done one. Ashley says yes. Awesome, Ashley. How did that work for you? Hopefully it worked out. Pamela says yep. Robert says no informational interview. So hopefully those of you that have said no, hopefully we can get some of those under your belt. It's such a great way to learn from industry leaders, and to just kind of get networked with the right type of people. Now, what my recommendation is for you before we get into step 5, which is our last step today, is you want to target 2 to 3 people that are doing what you want to to. Now, this could be people on LinkedIn. This could be, like, for me, 10 years ago, LinkedIn was a thing. I think it came on board in 2007, but people didn't really use it like they do now. So for me, it was, I actually went to the school and asked for the informational interview. So if you can connect with people online, or you can, using LinkedIn now, which is so amazing. It wasn't a thing back when I was, looking for this new teaching job. So it's great now. So reach out to them and ask them if they'd be interested in doing an informational interview. And most of the time people will say yes, let's connect. I would love to give you some advice or my 2 cents. And things you can ask are, what do you like best? How did you get to where you are now? Or, what kind of advice would you give to someone that is in my shoes that wants to one day be teaching for you or be in your situation? So, okay. Let's jump into our last and final step for our job search. And this is a big one if you haven't yet done this. Stay organized and follow up. Stay organized and follow up. Now, one of the things that can kind of get us off track is we're applying for this job and that job and this other job and this other job, and we just don't know what we've applied for, who we've heard back from, if we've done the follow-up, if we haven't done the follow-up. So my recommendation is to keep some type of spreadsheet available to you that you can track your progress. Now, here's the cool thing. Inside of WorldClass Career Academy, which is my online program that's launching on Friday, I have an entire module dedicated to the job search. And I actually include my signature job search planner and checklist that walks you through what you've done in each position. So have you followed up? Have you submitted a resume? Have you checked out the LinkedIn page? Have you contacted the hiring manager? So these are things we really want to keep track of because they give you ammunition moving into your interview. And they actually improve your chances of getting an interview because you're organized and you're following up. Now, when it comes to follow-up, after you've submitted an application, so let's say you've submitted and you haven't heard back, my recommendation is always to get in front of them again, at least like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks out, and asking them, hey, I've submitted my application or my resume for this position. I haven't heard back. Ask them if they have any details that they can share with you at that time to help you move forward in the process and to keep the ball rolling, basically. Now, you can do an email to the hiring official, or you can do a message on LinkedIn. Now, if you don't know who the hiring official is, that's totally okay, because there are resources now that will help you pinpoint or find those hiring officials on LinkedIn, or even just anywhere, getting their email address and getting in front of them through email. So let's say, for example, I applied for a position at Amazon and I hadn't heard back anything. Well, if you've done some research on LinkedIn, you'll know that some positions list the hiring official. So that's a perfect way to reach out. If the position doesn't list the hiring official, what you can do is do a people search on LinkedIn and type something like hiring manager Amazon or recruiter Amazon, if Amazon was the company I was applying for, and it's going to give you a list of people that you can choose from and send a message to. Now, if you don't have LinkedIn's paid version, I'm not sure if it lets you message them, but you can still connect. So this is where you would add a note to your connection request and pop that into the connection request. So it's kind of just like a backdoor method to get in touch with the recruiter or a hiring manager without actually signing up for LinkedIn's paid version. And just say, hey, I hope this email finds you well, or this note finds you well. Earlier this month, I submitted my resume for this position. And if you're writing in an email, you do have more characters and you can basically write anything you want. If you're writing a LinkedIn message, you have to kind of keep it short and sweet, but reiterate your expertise for the position, let them know why you are a good fit, and, let them know, hey, you can reach me here at this phone number or at this email address. I would love to move forward with this process. So this is just letting them know kind of where you are and that you're interested. So that is step 5. That is 5 steps to improve your job search skills using strategies and tactics that really work. Now, I do want to remind you, we are going to be back tomorrow. So before I take a look, I'm going to pop in and we're going to do a few questions here. I want to remind you about tomorrow's training. We are going to be talking about, I have a little slide for you. Let me hurry and pop it up so you can see this and you can have it on your record or on your radar. Tomorrow, we are going to learn how to use LinkedIn to present and market yourself. So make sure you join me again tomorrow. We will be back here, same time, same place. Now, here's the cool thing. I did show you the page to get your resume template and your interview guide cheat sheet. If you sign up for that, so you're going to pop in your name and your email address, I will be able to send you a live replay page of the entire career workshop. So it will have every video that we do this week. So definitely that alone is definitely worth it. So definitely join us tomorrow for that. Again, worldclasscareer.academy will get you your template, your interview guide cheat sheet, and you'll get on the VIP list to receive $100 off when World Class Career Academy launches on Friday. So I hope you'll be back to join me tomorrow, where we are going to talk all about LinkedIn. And for now, let me go ahead and I want to ask you something, and then we'll jump into a few questions. What's your biggest takeaway today? What is the one thing or the one step, or the one strategy that you think you can take action on today? What are some things that you think you can take action on today? And then we are going to jump into some questions. What are some things that you think you can take action on today? Awesome. So KS, I think that's Kathy. Kathy, I think that's you. You said, in big IT company, who should I ask for informational interview? Hiring manager or who already works in the position I want? Such a great question, KS. I think it's Kathy. My recommendation is both. Get in touch with, actually, I would first get in touch with individuals within the department or the little sector that you want to work with. So for example, in my situation, when I was requesting an informational interview with one of the universities I wanted to teach with, I didn't go to their human resource department. I went directly to the department chair of the department I wanted to teach for. So that's one thing to think about. But I do think it's beneficial to reach out to hiring officials as well, like the ones actually making human resource decisions. Good question. Okay, so let's see. Citizen Buddy says the biggest thing Citizen Buddy learned was networking. Love that one. Pamela, elevator speech and follow up. Yes. Henry says 30-second pitch. It's a big one. Maxim says 30-second pitch. Those 30-second pitches are huge. I highly, highly, highly recommend to everyone to get that down solid, especially if you are a job seeker. Naja says, 2 things is your biggest takeaway: asking for informational interviews and learning more about how to utilize LinkedIn. Yes, so good. Thank you everyone for sharing. I am going to chime in and I'm going to have a couple of questions that we answer. I know that I hate to keep you guys longer than 30 minutes. But I know if you had a question, I'm going to pipe in and see if I can answer some of those. Let me go ahead and let's do, okay. So Kathy, I'm going to pop in. It looks like you had a question. You were probably one of the first to ask a question. So I'm going to answer some of those first ones that came in. How can I craft my resume for a job I've never done, but know I can do? Oh, I love this. Okay. So Kathy, I was in your same situation as well 10 years ago when I was doing mine. So one of the things that I would recommend you do is make sure you understand the job and your skills. So you're going to be selling your specific transferable skills for the job you want. So by transferable skills, Kathy, I mean skills that you can use in one position and the other. So those are really the skills you want to focus on, okay? You want to make sure, like in your cover letter, if you do a cover letter, that you lead with something like, my experience with A, B, and C would enhance your department because of X, Y, and Z. So kind of turn it into a situational experience. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about that on day 3 of this workshop, but really, it's really just showing them that how does your experience in this category help them in this category? So kind of putting them both together. Good question, Kathy. Thanks for asking that. Okay, Margarita says, looking for a job at 55 suggestions. Margarita, okay, I'm going to make this one recommendation for you. You'll definitely want to join us day 4 this week, where we talk about finding a job or finding your true calling or your true passion and finding work in that area. I recommend jumping into that because we're going to talk a lot more about that during day 4. But my recommendation would be start with jobs that you know you would thrive in, or things that you know you would do well at. So, evaluating really where you are and what type of work can you and do you want to do. Okay, Ashley says, I need to work on my pitch. I get flustered when I'm talking about myself. Ashley, I used to be the same. In fact, when I first started going live on camera, it's like, what do I say? So I totally get it. But with practice, I think that you just got to get it out there and start saying it. Also, here's a recommendation, Ashley. Record yourself saying your 30-second pitch. That might be something. I know it's very interesting to watch yourself on screen for the first time. So I'm not sure if but you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it. So I would recommend doing that. Okay, let's see. I think we're good on questions. It seems like there's a few more comments that have popped through, but I don't want to take any more of your guys' time. I know that you've spent a good 30, 40, 45 minutes with me now. I appreciate you being here. Again, let me just remind you about tomorrow's training. We are going to jump into LinkedIn, and we're going to be learning a lot about that. So hopefully I will see you tomorrow. Make sure you set the reminder on my YouTube my YouTube page. You'll be able to set reminders for every day so that you can jump in and visit with me tomorrow. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.